right, welcome to the Smart Foundation podcast. I am host Aaron. That is host Adam.
It is. It's me. It's Adam.
And we are here with episode 2 of season 1. As usual, every week we do our AEW and WWE recaps and then our Call It in the Ring segment. New stuff, new business on the board. We are now on Pandora, Deezer, and iHeartRadio as far as podcast goes. That means every podcast foundation is covered, except for, unfortunately, Apple users will still have to listen to us online on Safari because Apple is being a pain with our distribution. It is not our fault. We have definitely submitted everything we're supposed to submit. Apple is just being a pain. So we will get Apple up as soon as we can. But our podcast website is Safari friendly. So those of you who are listening through Apple, thank you. We do know there are people listening that way. And you can hear us on Safari through your iPhone. And it does support background play. So check us out.
Yes, thank you for all your support. We actually we got our numbers and we're actually really pleased with everybody who decided to tune into us. I want to give a big thank you to everybody who supported our first couple of episodes, first episode, two-parter, whatever you want to call it, our first foray, the first time that you're meeting us. Thank you for starting our journey along with us.
Yeah, we really appreciate those of you who listened to our first 2 episodes. The numbers were really actually surprising to us because we didn't expect much at all. So that was super cool. Also, we will talk about ratings a little bit on this show, but only ours because we think ratings for wrestling is bad faith take. So we don't play that game. Yeah, we don't play the ratings game. Like what you like, and if you don't like it, don't watch it. Cool? Cool.
Yeah. What I'll say about ratings for wrestling is twofold. Number one, it means way less than it did before anyway, because so many people, including myself, have cut the cord with cable. Like, If you're not watching on cable, you're still watching. Those are still viewers. They're just not being recorded. So anything that Nielsen provides is not telling the whole story anyway. So it's kind of pointless. And secondly, I do care about Nielsen ratings to a point, and that's only to the point where you take that and you estimate however you can however the rest are watching your show. And I want those to be good enough, that rating to be good enough for wrestling shows to survive. Beyond that point is gravy. I want more wrestling on my TV, but I want more wrestling to be readily available, and I want ratings to reflect the interest that the common populace has in it, and I want that interest to be high. Beyond that, don't care.
Amen. And also, to be fair, nobody even has to have this take about ratings, because both companies now have rights renewal deals in the bag. They're done. Congrats AEW. Congrats WWE.
Absolutely.
They're both moving to streaming platforms I already subscribe to. Super bonus for me. Hell yeah.
Yeah.
So I mean, like, I was thinking, if AEW moves to a streaming service, maybe I'll I'll subscribe to a streaming service. But then they're like, hey, we're going to be on Max. And I was like, heck yeah. I mean, I watch Game of Thrones anyway. This is just an excuse for me not to cut that cord 3 months, the 3 or 4 months a year when they're not showing a Game of Thrones series. So, go AEW, go WWE. These are both, like, people underestimate how massive. Yeah, this is huge. Like Netflix, Max. This is a big deal. Yeah.
They are paving the way to the future. I mean, we've been on this path as a society, as a culture, for a long time now. Like, people have been slowly cutting the cord over and over again. And WWE and AEW now are finally kind of, I wouldn't say leading the charge, but they're finally getting on board. Mm-hmm. And they're finally hitching their wagon to what is clearly going to be the way going forward. Like, I doubt that cable is even going to exist in the next 20 years. Mm-hmm. Not as we know it anyway. I mean, maybe even 10 at the rate it's going. Yeah, I'm no expert, but like I see more. Most of my friends don't even carry. I was like the last household that I knew in my friends group that actually carried cable, and that was kind of specifically to watch wrestling. So You
No
know?
lie, when I first started rewatching AEW, when CM Punk came back, and I started like getting back into wrestling again after a long drought of not watching wrestling, I did, as a matter of fact, go to like Cox Cable or whoever the local cable provider is here in Amarillo now, and got a cable box and subscribed to the package that had the correct channel that I needed, literally only to watch wrestling, only to watch
Yeah.
wrestling and have pay-per-view access. And
Which
then,
by itself
yeah,
proves why wrestling is a great investment for cable channels, because it's
mm-hmm.
cheap content that people clearly will spend an exorbitant amount of money on just to watch. So, I
Right,
mean, it's really huge upside for cable providers.
right. All right, so I think we got a really good intro in there. We did explain why we won't be covering ratings, except for our own, which are really awesome for having only one episode in the bag. That's a two-part, 4-hour long bit of a dredge. We're not going to lie to you folks. We know what it
Yeah.
is, but we had fun
Yeah.
making it, and we're glad that a bunch of you had fun listening to it. You can find us also now on Linktree if you want to find any relevant links, including to our YouTube channel, which we'll start getting videos shortly of smaller clips of our content and full episodes. And also our Patreon, which will soon have subscriptions opening up, or our merch store, which is live now with a t-shirt and a hoodie with our logo on it. So you can make sure you get your Spark Foundation wear if you want. We also keep things very reasonably priced. We are not the $50 t-shirt sellers around here. We're the $20 t-shirt guys. So $20 t-shirt, $45 hoodie. If you want one, grab one. They'll get it to you. I think it's about a 3-week shipping time from our distributors, but you'll have your stuff as soon as possible, and they're really good quality. I made sure that the materials we're using are of a quality that I would wear, and if I won't wear it, I won't sell it. So,
And plus, it's got the logo that I designed, which
oh
would
yeah,
be really,
Adam hand drew our
if you
logo.
want, yeah, if you want to make me happy, I would love to see people out in the wild wearing a design that I drew. Like, it'd be really cool, honestly. Like, I know I'm no graphic artist or anything, but like I'm really proud of of that, and it would be cool to see people wearing my stuff. Not gonna
That's
lie. So if
yeah.
you like me, just do it for me.
Heck yeah. All right. So got our intro in. Who do you want to go first? Me or you this week, Adam?
We were gonna go. We obviously to we just mentioned that the first episode was kind of a slog, and
Right.
again, thank everybody for going through it. I know that we tried to make it as entertaining as we could, but still working out the kinks. So to alleviate some of that, we're gonna be toying with a slightly tweaked format. Uh, Instead of just doing WWE and then AEW, we're going to go in chronological order. So Aaron's going to start out with Raw, and then I'm going to be tagged in.
Oh
And
yeah, tag
yeah,
team.
we're going to tag team this. I'm going to cover Dynamite, and then I'm going to tag Aaron back in for SmackDown, and the hot tag will be me. Actually, no, the hot tag won't be me because there's a pay-per-view this week.
That's right. So, there's a pay-per-view this week.
So you'll get the Hope spot and I'll tag in, and then they'll work me over and I'll play Ricky Morton, and then you'll get the hot tag and finish us off.
There we go. That works for me. Tag team wrestling, the reviews every week, right here on the Spark Foundation.
That's podcast. The thing. You know what? That's what we're gonna do from now on. We'll figure out names for it, but each of these little mini segments here is gonna be tag team themed from now on. Let's just decide that right.
I'm with it right now. Heck yeah.
Boom.
Bam.
Yeah. Love it.
All right.
See, now you guys are part of the process too. Don't you feel special?
They are. Yeah. Everybody, you're hearing our process live. All right. So here we go. We'll start with Raw. All right. So Jey Uso opened Raw, our brand new Intercontinental Champion, which is totally awesome. They added some blue to the belt. I love that. Kind of old school.
It was necessary.
It was. It was kind of a bland belt.
It looked like a hubcap.
Yeah. But they added that blue, really made it pop. I think it really made the overall look of the title a lot better. So he's out there getting emotional, almost crying a little bit. I mean, the guy's been around a long time. This is his first singles championship. That's kind of an emotional deal. And then Braun Breaker interrupts him. And now when I saw this, I thought, what an asshole. Okay, because I'm obviously supposed to think that, but He comes out and he does the weirdest thing. It's the weirdest thing I've ever seen. The guy who just lost the title, who is known to be like this giant machine, going off of his dad and his uncle, he's like a mean guy, you know, and he comes out and he gives Jey Uso props and he shakes his hand and leaves. What? Like, I was literally confused. I thought he was gonna, you know, maybe hit the crowd, pop back up on the other side, give him a, you know, a spear. No, nothing happened. He just, hey man, I respect you. Shakes his hand, leaves. Like, okay, but build me a face v face feud. Let Braun Breaker be a face if he wants to. Everybody, people want to cheer him. People want to cheer
look
him.
At his work. People want to cheer him.
He's fantastic. So, okay. Yeah. Weirdest thing I've seen as far as like an ex-champion to new champion dynamic on the very next night that, you know, they're available to talk to one another. But still, super cool. Moving on. Xavier Woods beat Rey Mysterio after he rolled him up after removing his mask. Xavier Woods is on a freaking freight train to a heel turn. The New Day is about to break up. They're, at least that's the way they're signaling it. Unless they have some kind of Kane and Daniel Bryan version thing where they have a psychologist come into it or something like that and do therapy, which would be cool.
Get Dr. Shelby back.
Yeah, get Dr. Shelby back. Unless they do something like that, Xavier Woods is 100% being a heel. Karrion Kross kind of started all this. He's been kind of poking at Xavier Woods and The Miz about kind of turning on their partners and how they're not, you know, their partners aren't good enough for them or vice versa. Karrion Kross and the Final Judgment or whatever they're called. I don't remember what they're called. Final Testament. Yeah. There we go. It's Final Testament. It's kind of a Judgment Day light to me. They're about as effective as House of Black and AEW. Unfortunately, like, they look scary, but they're booked like shit. So, and they got Paul Ellering, which is a waste of Paul Ellering. He's never on the mic, and that's a waste. Period.
What's the point of that?
Why do you even have the guy if you never have him on the mic? Karrion Kross does all the mic work for that group. So why is Paul Ellering even there, and why are you wasting that poor man's talents? Now, anyway, so Xavier Woods rolled up Rey Mysterio, beat him after he removed the mask. The match was serviceable. It was all right. I hate it. I'm giving it a because I hate mask spots. I hate disrespecting a luchador's mask. I'm from Texas, where lucha's a big deal down here, as much as it is in Mexico, because it's here with us. There's a large Mexican population. I'm half Mexican myself. We love our lucha down here. Don't play with the man's mask. I don't like it. I will never like it. Even if I know it's going to happen. It happens in AEW. It happens in WWE. I'm going to see it. I'm going to have to live with it. Doesn't mean I have to like it. So, bam, I don't like that very much. Zoe Stark.
What if it's leading to like a lucha de apuesta?
I mean, okay, but
because you know that he's not going to lose the mask. It would be Woods losing his hair.
Yeah, that would be hilarious. My only thing is, it's happening a lot lately. I feel like, especially in AEW, which I don't cover, but for my consumption, it happens a lot, and I feel like it should happen less. So that's kind of where I'll leave it as far as that goes. The match was serviceable, though. It wasn't a bad match. I just don't like mask spots, so kind of ruined it for me at the end. But it did service in having Xavier beat a really over face in a really crappy way. To kind of further his, heel turn. He's wearing black now, which I get. I mean, I know their gear is kind of like Power Ranger throwback. And he's supposed to be like Black Ranger, but he's wearing black. He usually wears he usually wears purple or something like that, and so, then we had Zoe Stark defeating Lyra Valkyria after the Pure Fusion Collective interfered.
It's such a crappy name.
Yeah, I don't like the name. I don't like the name. But then at the end, they're actually beating down Lyra Valkyria, and Katana Chance and Kaden Carter show back up, make their return, which was cool. They got a nice big pop. They did the faces stand tall thing. There was a little segment afterwards where they're immediately inserting themselves in the women's tag division, which, to be honest with you, I would rather see Katana and Kaden versus Bianca and Jade than I would see them versus Alba Fire and her partner again. I'm sorry, I can't remember the girl's name right now. I don't really. I've only seen a couple of their matches. I'm not that familiar with them.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I even cut out of NXT UK before that was like, and UK was great for a while, but then it was just so difficult to watch for a while too.
Right.
Pandemic
Right.
really hit it hard.
Yeah. Pandemic hit
But yeah, I
everybody
can't
hard.
remember her name either.
Right. So then we had CM Punk and Drew McIntyre inside a cell for their final face to face before Hell in a Cell of Bad Blood. And CM Punk said he's been away from his wife and sleeping in a hotel because he's become a monster and he does not want to expose his wife to the monster he's become. And so he's going to end Drew McIntyre so that he can go home to his wife. And I don't
Sounds
remember
awfully familiar.
I don't remember what Drew McIntyre said because Punk went second. And that's like, but it was very much I'm gonna end your career. and Punk was very much like, I'm
Yeah.
sending you back to back to Scotland in a box. So they did that. They're both very very angry. It's very very believable because apparently they really don't care for each other. Although
Yeah.
lately I've seen reports to contrary that they do kind of like each other now. But I'm not in the rumor game. I'm in the what's going on screen game, and what's going on screen is that they hate each other, and it's freaking believable. And I was stoked for this match, and it delivered in every way possible. We'll get to that here in a minute. Next, after that, we had R-Truth returning for a segment where Braun Strowman was having a throwaway interview. R-Truth intervened in it, or no, Miz intervened in it and was talking to R. Strowman about how he interrupted the match that Miz was supposed to have with Bronson Reed. Miz should really just thank God he didn't have to have that match with Bronson Reed because right now he's kind of a throwaway character and Bronson Reed is destroying people. So, but then R-Truth interrupted the two of them, and so R-Truth's back after being attacked by said, Bronson Reed and completely destroyed. Which is kind of a foreshadowing for something later in the show, and I didn't realize it until after, but you really don't most of the time. But it was foreshadowing for something later on in the show involving said people. Now, well, in a couple of ways, actually, because R-Truth then discussed with Miz after Strowman left about how he knows that Karrion Kross has been picking on him. So he got us a match with AOP. So this is like the second or third tag match that Miz didn't want to have. That R-Truth just rolled up and was like, "Hey, we got this tag match." R-Truth funny as usual. I love R-Truth. Cool.
Did I mention to you that the last time they came through the town, I actually saw R-Truth at the grocery store? Yeah, I walked by it and I said, "What's up?" He's like, "Yeah, what's up, man?" That was the extent of it, but I thought it was cool.
That is pretty, especially because you said "What's up" to him.
Yeah, I don't think he quite got the bit that I was doing because I think he would just wanted to get something and leave because people recognize him everywhere. So
right. So after that, Judgment Day had a 6-man tag against LWO. It was Carlito, McDonough, the bobblehead, and Dirty Dom versus the LWO guys. Liv Morgan interfered, and Judgment Day got the win, as is tradition. I don't know what to say about it. I'll move on. We're gonna get to Judgment Day when I do my things I like and things I didn't like about this episode. Then Gable defeated Kofi Kingston in a match. Hold on. Before that, hold on. I a little bit ahead of myself. Judgment Day beat down the Terror Twins after said 6-man tag match. Like Finn came out, they're doing a promo. It's very basic. Terror Twins come out to raise some hell. Of course, they were outnumbered. They get beat up. So once again, Judgment Day standing above Rhea and Damien, who are supposed to be being built to be like some of the baddest people in the world. But
I mean, that's believable.
I mean, I guess, yeah, there's it's like 5-on-2. I guess it is believable. Yeah. Okay. So then Chad Gable defeated Kofi Kingston. But it was after Xavier Woods interfered in the match. He grabbed Gable's leg, I guess, to trip him up. But when he did it, Kofi was setting up for Trouble in Paradise. So he went for the move. Gable's leg got held and Kofi crashed out. So Xavier advertently or inadvertently has cost Kofi the match there. Kofi's understandably upset, but he didn't really take action. either way, another point in the Xavier traveling further onto the heel side. I think it'll come out later that was on purpose, but I don't know. Then after that, Sami Zayn and Gunther had their face to face. I love this angle because I love Sami Zayn, and I also really like Gunther. I mean, how can you not? The guy is he is what a heel champion should be. Sami Zayn is what an underdog babyface should be. This is a classic mix. It's wrestling booking 101, and it's
Plus,
working.
there's the intrigue built in that Sammy's the only one on the main roster besides the Survivor Series matches we don't count.
Yeah.
To beat the guy.
Yeah, and he brought that up.
So it's realistic to think that maybe Sammy could do it again because he's the only one who's done it.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
And that's what Sammy brought up this time. He threw it right in Gunther's face. Like, I'm the only person to have beaten you. And you're afraid to give me this shot. And then he said, well, Gunther went on about how he also brought his family to WrestleMania. And they got to watch him lose to you. And then he spouted off a German line. He's like, that's what my dad told me. You know what it means? It means I had to fly here all the way from Austria to watch you lose to a bum like Sami Zayn. And he's like, and the answer's still no. And then Sami Zayn's like, well, how do you say in German to your dad that he raised a coward? At which point Gunther unleashed and beat the hell out of him. But when he got up, he picked up the mic and said, hey, yeah, you want the match next week on Raw? That I thought, well, yeah, okay, I had the same look on my face. It's next week on Raw, not at Bad Blood. What? But then you think about it, and Bad Blood kind of already has 4 or 5 matches that are being built for Bad Blood. So if you go by the WWE pay-per-view formula, this don't fit. And we'll get to something else on SmackDown that should have been on Bad Blood that didn't fit either. But yeah, on Raw next week. So our next episode, we'll cover this match. Unfortunately, not this Bad Blood episode.
Hey, you know what, though? I mean, that's good for them. I would, traditionally I'd put that on pay-per-view or PLE or whatever. Yeah. But fact of the matter is, hopefully the same people who complained that they gave away Ricochet and Will Ospreay on free TV are saying the same stuff about you're putting the world title on Raw.
Mm-hmm.
Better bring that same energy, guys. Just saying.
Right. So then after that, we had a Wyatt.
Not be a hypocrite. Be consistent.
Amen. So then after that, we had a Wyatt 6 video that gave a little hint at the end that Alexa Bliss might be returning soon, which is totally cool. I'm down for that. I think she's been out for maternity leave, if I'm not mistaken. Which,
yeah.
Always cool to see people back when they weren't hurt. They were just out there living life. So, I'm glad she was out there living life. I'm also glad to see her back. So then after that, we had the Awesome Truth versus AOP. One thing I'm going to say about this match, the result of this match made me happy for one reason and one reason only. And I think it's because when they come out together and sing the song together, Miz is always offbeat. I'm sorry, but he is the stereotype of a white person who cannot do hip hop. He cannot do the hip hop. Please stop, Grandpa.
You got to give him credit for trying, though.
Right.
God love him.
Right.
He's out there doing it.
Right. So anyway, they have the match. Truth does the John Cena light thing. Then he starts getting all the heat. He goes for the hope spot. He tags in Miz for the hot tag. Miz immediately turns around, boots him in the face, and jumps out of the ring. Tears off his Awesome Truth shirt on the way out. And Karrion Kross, who is ringside, is laughing his head off. So Karrion Kross has had an effect, I think, on both Xavier Woods and The Miz, who would both, by the way, be much needed injections to this Final Testament project. That would make it NWO huge, but it would as people wise, but it would definitely help as far as competent workers with good mic skills. Then Strowman and Bronson Reed had a match together, the last monster standing, so a last man standing match with 2 big meaty men. Strowman wins. They went everywhere. Strowman went off the top through the announce table. They did.
Saw a clip of that. I love the spot. I love that spot.
And then they did a superplex and collapsed the ring.
Bigger fan of that spot.
And then they put the stairs in the ring, and Bronson Reed ended up face down on the stairs, but Strowman was selling down, and then Seth Rollins shows back up for the return after being put out in kayfabe by Bronson Reed, and does the stomp to Bronson Reed on the stairs, and then right as the referee's about to hit 10, Strowman stands up. So Strowman wins. Rollins is back.
Which is impressive. I just saw on Twitter like a couple hours ago that apparently Braun Strowman tore his groin 2 minutes into that match. So he wrestled that entire match with all of those big spots with a torn groin.
Right.
I have my issues with some of the things that Braun Strowman has said in interviews and on social media, but that man is tough as nails, and I gotta give it to him. I really do, because that I can't imagine how terrible a torn groin must feel. Right. Thank gosh I've never had it happen to me.
Right. Now, really quickly, the things I didn't like and the things I did like. A couple of things I did like starting off. I loved CM Punk versus Drew inside the cell for that final face-off. Security all between them, obviously hating each other. It was cinema, as the children would say. I know you hate that, and I only did that to just a little bit. But
like, whatever.
But I also liked Sami Zayn and Gunther face to face, and Sami Zayn really riling Gunther up, Gunther showing some emotion for once, which is uncharacteristic of him, which makes this even more intriguing because Sami's the only person who's beat him, and now he's he's showing emotion, and oh crap, the ring general is shook by something. Something I didn't like about the show. I never liked Judgment Day. I never like Judgment Day segments. I never like watching Rhea Ripley get beat up and going down and looking weak because I know she can beat up most of the dudes on that roster for realsies. So I just don't like the Judgment Day segments. I just really don't like Judgment Day that much. Some of their matches are entertaining, but really I'm there in that program for Damian and Rhea. I'm not there for any members of Judgment Day. Although I will give Dom his props for his ever continuing nuclear level of heat. Until the day they stop booing that man, I'll stop giving him that prop every single week. But until then, his mere presence is like Boo City. I will give him his props until he's somehow able to eliminate his own nuclear heat. He'll probably have to shave his mullet for that.
It's a pretty long half-life on that. Let me tell you.
Yeah, pretty long. And then another thing I did like, I kind of hate the entrance to R-Truth and Miz together because of Miz's offbeatness and my love for hip hop. So I did like Miz kicking R-Truth in the face. God, I love R-Truth, but I really loved him getting kicked in the face here because that means I'll never have to hear that entrance again, at least for a while. And when I do hear it again, I'll be like, hell yeah, Awesome Truth is back together. But right now, hell yeah, they're broken apart. And something weird's going on with Miz and Xavier Woods, and they're doing the thing. And now for the big thing, the foreshadowing I was talking about earlier, R-Truth returned after being destroyed by Bronson Reed. Foreshadowing said return of Seth Rollins, who was also destroyed by Bronson Reed a week before R-Truth was destroyed by Bronson Reed. So bringing them back in the same week totally makes sense, but it was a bit of foreshadowing. I don't know if they played it that way, but that's the way it turned out. So good on them. Yeah. Heck yeah, that was Raw for the week. And now I'm going to tag in my boy Adam.
I'm going to try and do this as speedily as I can. So match number 1 for Dynamite tonight is their big 5-year anniversary show. Not their 5th anniversary, their 5-year anniversary. Just like WrestleMania 25 wasn't the 25th anniversary. It was the 24th anniversary. It was the 25th show. There's a difference. People need to learn it. That's what I'm here for. Anyway, this was their big anniversary show of 5 years on the air. They opened up with the hot opener with the international title, Ricochet challenging Will Ospreay for the belts. I'll go over the good parts in it. I'm just going to run down the card as is. Get the major points out there, and then we'll go back and talk a little bit about it. So the winner initially was a no contest. There was a double pin after Ricochet poisoned Ronald Ospreay, but he came back with like one of those exhausting, last breath hidden blades, and they fell on top of each other. They did the double pin thing, which initially was ruled as a draw by the referee, but both participants protested, so they got word back from the back that Tony Khan said that the match should continue. They went at it for another 60, 90 seconds, something like that. After it was restarted, another hidden blade, and it looked like Ospreay was going to retain. And then Konosuke Takeshita comes out from the back after having earlier. I forgot about the setup to this. Don Callis was there with Kyle Fletcher, and Kyle was wishing Ospreay good luck, and he's like, "Yeah, oh, good luck, but we gotta go." So they weren't going to be there for the match, and as Ospreay kind of leaves, like, oh, okay, well, all right, bye. You see Takeshita kind of like giving him the side eye.
Yeah.
That's the last shot of it. So I should have said that, but that sets up Takeshita coming in, and they never really said what it was. I imagine that officially it's a no contest, but technically, if you're going by the rules, even though he did attack both of them, he attacked Ospreay, and then the bell rang. So that would indicate that that was the decision. So Ricochet technically wins by DQ. Would be my interpretation of it. I'm sure in the record books they'll probably tweak it because kayfabe is a thing, and they'll say it's a no contest or whatever. But after the bell, ding 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 ding, he did then attack Ricochet.
Okay, so Ospreay would win by DQ.
Oh, Ospreay, you're correct.
Yeah.
You're correct.
But yes, but yeah, your interpretation.
But
yeah. Okay, so your interpretation is correct, other than the misspeaking.
Yeah.
Yes. So yeah, Ospreay wins by DQ. That's what I thought
Ospreay
too.
Yeah.
So yeah.
I mean, that's how it normally would go. I'm sure, like I said, kayfabe is still a thing when they want it to be. So they'll probably like record it as a no contest, even though I would only really buy that if the bell sounded after he attacked both of them. And even then, that's a little bit of a stretch, but at least that's kind of, regardless. Match gets a thumbs up for me. We'll go back to it. Segment number one, non-wrestling segment number one. Renee interviews Mercedes Moné with Camille. Moné does this kind of funny thing where she presents a video package of all of Dynamite's best moments.
Yeah.
And it's just all footage of her. And that's kind of fun, honestly. MVP then comes in and like talks her up a little bit, kind of like he did with Swerve talked up Swerve last week, gives her a business card. So this new Hurt Business / Syndicate might have the Monet Corporation attached to it. I mean, could be the funding or whatever. I don't know.
I would deal with her a lot better if somebody else talked.
I mean, MVP is great at that,
and he is. Yeah.
And frankly, like, it would distinguish it from its previous iteration because it would have women in it. Cool. Which is cool. Segment number 2. This was after the commercial. Renee then interviews the Guns. I still don't know why they don't call themselves the Gun Show or something like that.
Yeah, I don't like Bang Bang Gang at all.
I like Bang Bang Gang, but I don't like the Guns. It's just dumb. It's plain. It's simple. It doesn't indicate any kind of personality. Like, they were the Gun Club with their dad, and I know that once they turned heel that they wanted to distance themselves from their dad. So a name change may have been necessary, but just the Guns is lame.
Yeah.
It's dumb.
Now, interjecting just a little bit with a question here, okay? Because they call them the Bang Bang Gang exclusively now. There is no Bullet Club Gold anymore. That's over. But we still have Forbidden Door. There's still AEW obviously having a working relationship with New Japan Pro Wrestling. Was there ever any kind of report as to why they could not call them Bullet Club Gold anymore?
I don't think it was a matter of they couldn't. I mean, I think it was just they started calling them that, and people, it just caught on, and so they just decided to go with the thing that the fans liked more. Like, okay. I didn't really see many Bullet Club Gold signs, but I saw some Bang Bang Gang signs.
Oh yeah.
So I think they probably just went with what was popular and what they could own exclusively. because they
Yeah,
probably had to
yeah,
share rights with Bullet Club Gold.
yeah.
But
That's
Bang
true.
Bang Gang can be AEW exclusive rights.
True.
So
Yeah.
that would be my suspicion.
Fair. Fair. Okay.
But yeah, they were getting interviewed by Renee. Their interview wasn't really anything special. It was just to set up Hangman and Page, take them out from behind with the chair. Which, you know, if you're a heel, especially Adam Page, who is not a heel but is a heel,
He's not a heel.
he's not a heel, but he doesn't
He's
have friends
definitely doing the
anymore,
heel thing.
and
Yeah.
all the people that he's facing have friends, so he's got to equalize somehow. So it's showing once again the whole thing that I think of is baby faces are dumb, heels are smart. Like
Yeah.
baby faces are just lucky in the end, or just better in the end. But all the storyline stuff that goes into a baby face versus heel storyline, the heels have to be smarter to get the one up on the baby face constantly
Yeah.
until virtue wins out in the end for its own sake.
Right.
So like I always say, yeah, baby faces are stupid and heels are super smart.
Yeah, that's pretty much
Unless
how
the
it
gimmick
actually
is
works.
that they're dumb heels, which is rare enough that it makes it noteworthy. You know, it's the exception that proves the rule kind of deal. But yeah, so Hangman doesn't have friends, so he has to take out the guns before his match later on with Juice Robinson to ensure that they don't get involved. Because even though those guys are kind of technically baby faces, that they're still the Bang Bang Gang. They'll still
Yeah.
get involved.
Oh yeah,
Like
they're still gonna do.
yeah,
They're still gonna do
they're
heel
still gonna do the
things.
thing. They're gonna do the thing. So Hangman, smart.
Yeah, definitely.
Segment number 3 was in the ring, TV time with the Learning Tree. Jericho brags about his role in the creation of AEW, which, for I mean, is true. You can't take that away from him.
Yeah.
Says that he wants to be the Nueve after headlining Arena Mexico and then pinning Mark Briscoe in that match last week. So he officially makes his verbal challenge for the ROH World Title. Briscoe then comes out and he's like, "Yeah, you're a spade is a spade. You're a legend, but I'm gonna beat you." And then Jericho says that Mark isn't as good as Jay, and we'll get to that later. Mark tags him real quick, but everybody else is waved off, which is good. Which is good.
Yeah.
I like the drawing of that out. But he's like, okay, we'll handle this later. Segment number 4 was a pre-tape promo with Darby Allin. He's sitting on a car and he's talking about basically standing up for himself because well, look at him. Like he's always been that 5'10", 170-pound, guy that everybody thought that they could pick on, and he learned to stand up for himself. Good for him. So he issues an open challenge for Wrestle Dream. Hey, you want to, people are having trouble believing in me, and heck, I'm having trouble believing in myself. So you know what? We're gonna fix both of those problems with an open challenge at Wrestle Dream, and I'll show you who I am.
Okay. Wait, interject right here. Interject right here.
Sure.
Have a little fun with this segment. Who is it? Who's going to come out at Wrestle Dream and be the
I'll tell you.
Who is it?
I'll tell you because we find out later that week.
Oh, do we?
You are not caught up on Collision, sir.
I am not, sir.
No, we'll find out, and you,
okay.
I guarantee, will like who it is.
Okay.
Cool. Guarantee you.
Cool. All right.
Hangman Page versus Juice Robinson's match number 2 starts out a brawl. And I'm convinced that they patterned parts of this match from the WrestleMania 13 match with Brett and Austin, because like there are parts like. Because that match starts out in the ring, but it quickly goes to the outside. They brawl all up and down. This one didn't start in the ring. They started fighting on the ramp, but they go all up into the fans and everything. And, they set stuff up outside. It doesn't ape the most famous part with the double turn, but there are parts I'm pretty sure they took from that, some inspiration from that. And I will never fault. That's one of my favorite matches of all time.
Mm-hmm.
So I will always give it up for that. This match gets a thumbs up. Page hits the Deadeye and pins Juice after hitting a low blow unseen by the referee. I don't think he needed to do it. Like, there was nothing that said that he was in danger of losing, really. I think he was just like, I'm done with this. Let's just get it over with. That kind of thing. Afterwards, Hangman tries to, he uses the leather strap that Juice brought from last week's Lumberjack match. He brought that to the ring and tried to use it earlier, but was stopped before he could get DQ'd by doing it. And he tried to hang Juice over the top rope with it again. And then Switchblade Jay White comes from out of nowhere and makes his glorious return. And it just beats the crap out of him.
Oh, yeah.
And
I was happy to see Jay White.
They go back out into. I think that's why they took care of the guns, so that this return would be more impactful and would be a surprise. So they go back out into the audience where they had set up a table but hadn't gone through it, and then they go through Chekhov's table, and Jay White puts him through it. I thought it was great. Segment number 5, Renee interviews Scapegoat Jack Perry as he's coming in off his bus. Nobody steals the bus. I'm waiting on it. But he comes off the bus, and Renee asks him how, it doesn't matter what she asks him because they immediately get interrupted because this is AEW and nobody can do an interview without getting interrupted. And, but it's Shibata, so I don't care. It's Katsuyori Shibata. Challenges for a TNT title match, and Perry initially says, I'll think about it. He goes away. Shibata goes back to his phone to type something out, and before he can get to do that, Perry blindsides him, throws him against the bus, and then accepts the challenge. Yeah. Segment number 6, backstage promo with Bryan Danielson. It's just, I'm sure it was live, but it's not an interview segment. It's just a promo. He says, F John Moxley, which echoes the online promo that he cut last week.
Yeah.
And he lays down the match. He kind of just runs down the stipulation for the main event tonight, where it's title for title with him and Okada, but because of the Continental Classic, mostly sticking to the 20 minute time limit. If the match goes past 20 minutes, then the Continental title is no longer on the line, which I actually thought was kind of cool. I actually dug that.
Yeah, I like the way they did that. Katie looked at me like real confused when they announced it, and I explained it to her, and she accepted it. I don't know if the average casual fan would like it. I liked it. Yeah, I liked the way they did it. So.
Chatter online that I saw on my Twitter timeline was mixed, but I liked it. Match number 3, Dr. Britt Baker returns. They were in Pittsburgh.
Yeah,
so
Pittsburgh.
It was a huge homecoming for her.
Mm-hmm.
They love her. They love her as much as they love Kurt Angle in Pittsburgh, which is mind-boggling to think about.
Yeah, it is.
It's Kurt freaking Angle, but like, they absolutely love and adore Britt. Keep having her win in Pittsburgh. Do the thing that WWE for so long refused to do. But yeah, she had a good match with Serena Deeb. Baker won with the lockjaw. There was no funny business or anything like that. It was good. It was great. Thumbs up. Match number 4 was Private Party versus Iron Savages. This was a glorified squash match, so it doesn't get a rating from me because it was mostly an angle. But within about 2 minutes, Private Party hits Gin and Juice, gets the win. Afterwards, Zay gets on the mic and challenges the Young Bucks for a shot at the World Tag Team Championship. And the Bucks actually come out in person on the stage and say, hey, you know what? We have a longer overrun tonight. Maybe we should do this. So they come down like halfway down the ramp. It's like, you know what? We're not going to waste one of our limited wrestling dates on Pittsburgh, classic heel stuff. And that served as a kind of a distraction. Scapegoat came back out, and he's just like, He beat the crap out of them, and allowed the Young Bucks to come in. Yeah, but then Shibata came back to even things out, and Christopher Daniels finally makes his way to the stage and makes a trios match for Rampage. So we actually on the week I decided not to cover Rampage, we actually get big stars with storyline ramifications on Rampage.
Right.
Go figure.
Yeah.
For the record, that trios match, I looked up the results. The baby faces won that. So Shibata and Private Party beat the Young Bucks and Jack Perry, and Private Party beat them in the same exact manner. They were gonna go for the TK driver, but they got intercepted, and the victory roll, the same exact way that they first beat them on that second episode of Dynamite. So we're doing callbacks to the early stuff, which is I appreciate. Segment number 7, Renee interviews MVP, who was already out there. I don't know why she just didn't do it then, but whatever. He says he has an announcement. Prince Nana comes to interrupt, and he's like, hey, you got in my face. People keep forgetting that I was a wrestler too. So MVP says, well, you know what? That sounds like a complaint, and that's not really my department. Allow me to introduce the head of my complaints department. The camera pans over, and it's Shelton Benjamin. Knew he was coming. Big fan of it. We find out later on via Twitter, and I think I saw it being reported by Fightful that Lashley definitely signed the deal as well. So you're getting the whole thing minus Cedric. So yeah, it's great. Seeing Shelty be in a suit is always good too. Right. Match number 5, double title match. Your main event: Continental Champion Kazuchika Okada versus World Champion Bryan Danielson. Danielson eventually, after about a half an hour or so, picks up the pinfall with, of all things, a backslide after the Blackpool Combat Club, or whatever they're calling themselves now. I'm going to call them that until such time as they give themselves a new name. They come out on the stage, and they just kind of stand there, but Okada's distracted enough that he gets backslid by Danielson. After that, the BCC, restrains Danielson in the ring, and Mox gets on the horn and on the mic, and he says he's fighting for something bigger than himself because he's going to do what others can't. It makes you think that there's somebody else pulling strings somewhere. Then Wheeler Yuta comes back out, makes the save, and chases off the BCC with a hammer, presumably the same hammer that they injured Brother Zay's hand with a couple weeks back. They come back when Danielson attacks Mox, who didn't leave the ring. But Claudio notably doesn't attack Yuta. Yuta then challenges Pac and Claudio to a tag match along with Danielson at next week's Dynamite, which they're giving the title of Title Tuesday, even though it doesn't really seem like too many championships are on the line as of yet. It's weird name, but whatever. As far as my ups and downs go, they're not ups and downs, Simon. I'm not stealing your gimmick. I just had that as shorthand on my notes. Okay. Right. So first, positive thing, the international title match was stellar. Very good. Yeah. Fantastic. Ricochet, since coming to AEW, who is wrestling like he has something to prove, like he's getting really gritty in there. Like he's using more like strength-based moves. He's really, really laying it in. Like I'm sure he's not wrestling snug, but his stuff looks like it hits harder than, like, I don't think I've ever seen him hit that hard. Like he's laying stuff in, and they were doing this tit for tat thing. Anything you can do, I can do better. Like it was really good. Like, so, when you measure that up against Ospreay's 1 hour match with MJF, like even though they cut a really good pace for an insane amount of time, you still believe that this match, which was about 20 minutes or so with against Ricochet, you still believe that Ospreay still could have been beat because of how hard Ricochet seemed to be leaning into it. So, like, I mean, what do they say in the fight game? And all it takes is one lucky shot, right? So, like, you apply that to wrestling, that psychology to wrestling, and, like, if he's laying it in, like, it's believable that even though we've seen him last longer, like, anybody can get beat. So I thought that match was fantastic. Not like a huge fan of the ending, but it gets Takeshita in there, and that triple threat match at Wrestle Dream is gonna bang.
Yeah, it is. Yeah, it is.
I really liked Hangman versus Juice. I felt like the discourse online was kind of underselling it. I thought it was really intense for something that was not super well built up, that's just starting. I loved the Jay White comeback. I loved how I thought they had really good chemistry. I loved the graphic. Somebody on Twitter, I need to start bookmarking these so they can give people's handles the proper credit for it. But they posted the graphics of them, and Hangman's all like, "Arr!" and Juice is all like, "Hey!" And it looked like somebody said it looked like Sam the Eagle versus Animal puppets, and it's like that's perfect. That's absolutely that's 100% accurate. But yeah, that match was great. I thought that people were kind of underselling it. Like, you go back and look at that, like, everything makes sense. I like that they're adding this new semi-cerebral aspect to Page's character now that he has to kind of think about being the ultimate lone wolf kind of deal where nobody likes him. He has to take care of things in order to even things out and stuff like that. Whereas if he was a babyface going against Bang Bang Gang, do you really think he'd be taking the guns out before the match?
Right. No.
He'd be a stupid babyface.
Yeah.
Like,
exactly.
Not a big fan of the TV time.
No.
Now, I know last week I said that there is room for true villainy in wrestling, and there is, and I stand by that. There is still such a thing as too soon, though, and I thought it was still too soon. Like, give it another year at least.
Yeah,
like,
I didn't like that at all.
Jay's death it's still kind of raw. Like,
yeah.
I wasn't a huge fan of invoking Jay, but if they are going to do it, you better have Mark win.
Like, oh yeah. If you're gonna do this, Mark, better
Briscoe win
and decisively.
Yeah, like, I mean, I feel like you could have. I felt like this build didn't need it. Like, if you wanted to make it personal, like, just have him beat him in another tag match or something. Kind of see if you can get in Mark Briscoe's head, and have it actually work. Like, nobody can get Mark Briscoe's head. So having some, much like Gunther, like, nobody gets in his head. So to see it actually happen is interesting because you don't see that.
Right.
So I feel like something similar would have. There were different ways that you could get there, and it really felt kind of skeeved out about invoking Jay's name, like even a year after his death. I don't really like it.
Yeah.
It just it rubs me the wrong way.
Yeah.
That being said, the storytelling in the main event was fantastic. Switching gears, Okada really leaned into the fact that all I gotta do is wait it out 20 minutes, and then I can win a title and not have to lose. Like, so he was taking it slow. He was going to the ropes and breaking things up, really, really slowing it down and avoiding Bryan for as much as he could. And then as soon as that 20 minutes elapsed, he poured it on. It was perfect psychology. And then it was fantastic. I'm not a fan of backslides. I kind of hate backslides. I think they're silly and dumb, but they don't usually win a match. So to see it actually win a match for once is novel. So even that I can't really hate on too much. Right. But yeah, overall, Dynamite was good.
Heck yeah.
Time to tag it.
I'll take the tag, and we're going to Smackdown this week for the go home show to Bad Blood. And this is a really good example of what I was talking about matches on a weekly TV show that would have normally been on a previous pay-per-view, but are now being showcased on television. The show opened up with Hardy, who I guess is a Nashville artist because they're in Nashville this week, which means lots of cowboy hats on everybody. And he's introducing a returning AJ Styles, but he calls him the Phenomenal Forearm.
What?
Yeah, we'll get to that later. Yeah. AJ returns. He soaks it in for a moment. I mean, the crowd's really showing him some love for his return. He is 100% about to cry a couple of times. And then he's interrupted by Carmelo Hayes. And they then, they back and forth their way into a match, which is then stopped like 3 or 4 minutes in by an apparent ankle injury to AJ Styles. They said he sprained his ankle, but I don't know if it was a work or not. Carmelo then went to Nick Aldis and was like, "Hey, I should get my title match with Jey Uso now, or with LA Knight now, because I won." And Nick Aldis was like, that wasn't really a win.
That makes me think that it was a work.
That makes me think that it was a work. Yeah.
Yeah.
Then we moved into.
I mean, to capitalize on it that quickly.
Yeah.
It's a work.
Yeah. So then Michin then defeated Chelsea Green in a dumpster match. This is one of those ones that I said would have previously been on a PLE, but are now being on TV. It was a good match. They had a lot of hardcore spots. Chelsea Green, surprisingly adept at hardcore matches. Probably taking tips from her husband, I would imagine.
I would think so. Yeah.
I think so. But it was good. The finish was Michin powerbombed her through a table that was set up across the dumpster and into the dumpster, and then she walked around for the rest of the show like covered in dumpster juice and everybody pretending she stunk really badly. And so it was kind of a funny thing afterwards, but the match itself was actually pretty good. Definitely gave it a thumbs up. And then from there they moved pretty quickly into Bayley versus Nia having their face-to-face before Bad Blood for their title match. Bayley played on Nia and Tiffany's dynamic with the case involved, and she's tried to cash in on you several times, and I know you're noticing, and Nia, Tiffany being like, Tiffany blurted out, "I don't need this briefcase to beat Nia," and Nia gave her this like the look, so they have this kind of back and forth. They attack Bayley. Bayley gets the upper hand. She lays out Nia and takes off. At which point Tiffany Stratton acts like she's going to cash in again, and Nia does a whole Undertaker sit up and looks straight at her and is like, "Oh, so more building that dynamic for the eventual, what I believe will be the cash in. Then Nia kind of leaves. Naomi comes out for her match with Tiffany Stratton. She beats Tiffany Stratton after a roll up. And I'm going to get to this match a little bit more in the things I really liked about this show, because man, oh man, did Tiffany Stratton take my relative dislike for her as a character and turn it into, okay, I don't really like the character, but her in-ring work is pretty solid. Like I said, this is one of the new NXT ladies that's come in, and I'm not that familiar with her since my return to WWE. So I'm getting to know her a lot later than a lot of other people are, but that match was, Naomi's a good gauge to put somebody with and see if they can have a great match. And she had a good match with her. So we'll talk about that a little bit more later. And then,
are you saying she's this generation's women's version of X-Pac?
We'll talk about that later. Okay. Like really, because we'll talk about that later. So
good. I want to have that conversation.
Yeah, we will.
I'm interested to hear your thoughts on that.
So then we had a three-way ladder match for the tag team championships, which this would totally have normally been on a pay-per-view, but is not
built up at all?
Yes, it was built up a little bit. I think they may have announced it the week before, maybe 2 weeks before, or maybe over the last couple of weeks they were kind of building, like deciding who was going to be in the match. So it's Bloodline versus DIY, who I always love DIY, versus the Street Profits, which it seems to be a good match. The match turned out kind of so-so. DIY and Street Profits did team up on the Bloodline at one point and like put them through tables and did all kinds of crazy stuff to them. And then the Bloodline still won. So that's kind of why it turned out so-so to me. I was like, these two teams literally went
after. Who represented the Bloodline?
It was Tama and Tonga. Tonga and Tonga Loa. Yeah, Tama and Tonga.
Because I think are they doing the Freebird thing?
I don't know if they are, but Solo and Jacob had had their tag match with Roman and Cody the next night, so it wasn't going to beat them either way. Not a ladder match tonight.
Well, I didn't know if Fatu was going to get in there. So
I'm pretty sure they got involved a little bit, but I think they were really kind of saving those guys. I mean, when they won the match, they kind of regrouped at the ramp with the Bloodline as if they were just coming out. So I may have missed something there, but I don't think they really got involved that much. But it was the beat down that the other two teams. Okay, let me liken it to something from AEW that we recently saw. It was like setting a guy on fire and then he gets the pinfall.
Yeah.
Like those guys went through the tables and got the ladder spots and all that, and they
Yeah.
won.
Sometimes it works and sometimes it doesn't.
I didn't feel
It
like
depends on the presentation.
I didn't feel like it worked that well, and so it not being on the PLE doesn't bother me that much, but this is still one of those matches. Now, that was the end of the show. SmackDown's still relatively short without commercials. And it didn't have a lot of backstage. I mean, it had backstage angles, but they were kind of woven in between them. Like, they come back from commercial break, have like a 30-second backstage angle, and then they go and do a match, which is a weird format for me because it makes it a little harder to keep up with promos. But there wasn't a lot there. I mean, this was a go home show. We knew what we were doing.
Yeah, there were a couple of long matches to fill the time in.
Yeah, right. Yeah,
a three-way ladder match is going to take up a chunk of time by necessity, I would think.
Yeah, it took up probably about 30 minutes or so, at least, of a 2-hour television show, which is only an hour and a half. So it took up a good third of the show. So that's the end of it. So 2 things I really liked from the show off the hop. Here's where we get to talk about Tiffany Stratton, because holy crap, Naomi went for like an X-Pac face buster. Stratton bounced out of it backwards, like a full rotation backwards, landed on her feet, and then double drop kicked Naomi right in the face. And that entire sequence took maybe a full second, a full second. It was so fast. It was one of the most creative reversals
I've ever seen. She has a legitimate gymnast background.
Yeah,
right?
I think so. That would track in this case.
There are a couple of girls down in NXT right now that have gymnast backgrounds, which is not a bad background to have in wrestling. It's really not.
But I mean, right now, as far as WWE goes, I mean, I know the history. I wouldn't call myself a casual wrestling fan, but as far as current WWE goes, I'm a little bit of a casual. I know more about the older guys than I do about the younger people.
I'm catching up.
And I'm re-catching up. But the more I see her work in the ring, despite just not really liking the way she presents her character, the more it tracks why she has the Money in the Bank briefcase. I really like this kind of teaser build they're doing, because I think she's going to topple Nyla and be the next women's champion, which is unfortunate, because I think last week I said Bayley's going to be the next women's champion, and maybe Tiffany cashes in, and it's maybe Bayley's only champion for 30 seconds like Drew McIntyre was that one time when Punk screwed him over. But I think right now it's going to be a cash in on Nia from Tiffany Stratton. So that's kind of where that turned to me before Bad Blood, and then we'll get into Bad Blood. But so yeah, Tiffany Stratton, one of the things I really liked about this episode. Meechin and Chelsea Green and their dumpster match was awesome. So another thing I really liked about this episode.
I'm glad they gave Meechin a win.
Yeah, I am too. I am
like,
too.
Like I said, I usually, kind of just lurk. I don't watch, but I lurk. I see clips online and stuff, and it's like, it seems like Meechin's kind of the person they put in there when they need like a third-tier baby face to lose to an up-and-coming heel. And so it's good. I love Mia Yim. I think she's fantastic. And so it's good to see her. It's good to also, I think she's one of the only women who are technically members of the Bullet Club because of her association with the OC. They kind of count that as like a different wing, but it's they kind of accept all of the branches on the tree, So technically, I think she may be the only woman who's a full-fledged member of the Bullet Club.
Right.
Like that's a kind of a big deal. Yeah. So I'm glad they're giving her something. It's good to hear about that from a personal standpoint.
Yeah, it is. It is. But I really liked the match. I thought it was fun. I thought the Chelsea walking around afterwards, covered in dumpster goo, and everybody pretending she's stuck. Because Piper's her friend, and Piper's walking next to her, going, "Oh God, it's so terrible," and like making the throw up sounds and everything. And so it was so good. And then she goes talk to Nick Aldis, and she's like, "I want," and he's like, "Not right now," and like just walks off. So
even Nick Aldis can't keep it on.
Even Aldis couldn't keep no composure for that poor man when she walked around. I don't know what she was covered in though, but she looked like she was legitimately covered in dumpster juice. It was kind of gross.
Eh,
But yeah, so I really liked that part. Something I didn't like, and that I consistently do not like in wrestling. Like usually the things I don't like in a wrestling show are things that I always don't like because they happen a lot or they've happened before and I didn't like it then. I don't like when you have a national artist or somebody on your show with a live mic in their hand who doesn't know dick about wrestling. Anybody who watches WWE with any regularity knows that AJ Styles is the phenomenal one, not the phenomenal forearm.
yeah.
I also don't really like Hardy. I think if since they're in Nashville, Jelly Roll would have been a way better choice. He's been on before. He's obviously a big wrestling fan, and everybody
Yeah.
loves the guy. So get him in there. All I can think is he's in the studio or he's on tour or doing something like that where he couldn't be
I
there.
know that
But
he,
yeah,
not yesterday, but the week before SNL premiered their latest season, and he was the musical guest on there.
yeah,
And as somebody who's not like a huge fan of their music, I was actually kind of impressed. Like what
mm-hmm,
he seems to be going in a different direction with his music that I
mm-hmm,
kind of dig actually.
right,
And he seemed so humble, and he seemed so grateful. And knowing a little bit about his backstory, like, yeah, give him that spot. See if you can call it. Give him these opportunities to be around a thing that he really likes. Because you know
yeah,
what? He's earned it. He's earned it.
yeah,
He's cleaned his life up from a very bad place. He spent time in a very bad place and came out the other side as a better person. When you cannot say that about too many people who go through the
right,
correctional system. Like, it's kind of a miracle when it happens.
yeah.
I'm with you on this one. I think Jelly Roll probably, like, I'd never even heard of Hardy. You're the Hardy I've heard of. Like, I,
That's true.
or Jeff and Matt. Like,
Yeah,
I
or
don't
Jeff and Matt. Yeah,
like I don't. Granted, I'm aging out of the demographic that they're trying to target with these celebrities anyway. But
mm-hmm,
like, I think Jelly Roll probably would have been bigger. At least I've heard of him.
yeah,
And like you said, he's already been on,
yeah,
and he's in Nashville. I don't know. Maybe, like you said, maybe he's on tour. Maybe the SNL gig was part of that tour. I
yeah.
don't know.
Maybe. Yeah, I'm not
Maybe
sure.
he was still in New York
Yeah, who
for all I
knows?
know. Maybe he
Yeah,
was like, yeah, maybe I'll just stay and be a tourist for for a
that
week or something. I
happens.
don't know.
That happens
Sure.
during the Mercules tour. He definitely got to New York and stayed there for like 3 or 4 extra days when he went for Sway.
Yeah.
So yeah,
So yeah, no, I'm in agreement with you on that. Like, use the biggest celebrity that you can, not some guy that probably the majority of your aging audience has never heard of. You may be targeting that younger demographic, but the people who are watching it are more our age.
yeah,
So
yeah,
like,
for sure.
not that you need to target us all this stuff, but like, maybe if you're getting one of the newer artists, maybe get like the biggest one you can, so that at least we're aware of who they are.
Yeah,
You
the
know,
crowd really didn't seem to jibe with him, but when AJ Styles came out, that changed.
well, that's
So
Nashville, man. Like,
yeah,
that's TNA country.
yeah, that's TNA
Like,
country. So yeah,
that's where he made his name.
it'd
Of
be like
course,
Jeff
they're gonna
Jarrett
cheer the
suddenly
crap out of
appearing.
him. Yeah,
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 well, so kinda, but I,
yeah.
I think he's redeemed himself a little bit in AEW, but we can talk about that some other time. But yeah, so I didn't really like the Hardy thing opening the show. I did like the AJ Styles return though, and that's my ending thing that I really liked. AJ Styles came back. He was obviously very into the crowd being very into him. He was very emotional. The ability because he was out there before Carmelo Hayes interrupted him. He was kind of talking about like I did some shitty things before I left, and I obviously don't have that many friends back there, and but he was also getting emotional over the crowd. So I think the emotion that from the crowd made the I'm kind of a shitty person promo go a little better and be a little bit more believable. But fuck, I mean, I don't even need any of that. AJ Styles is back, and he's like
Yeah.
100% a badass wrestler, and always makes any program better. So
Yeah, I
you know,
feel like the best thing that you can do to establish a babyface turn is have the guy turning admit their crap and try to own up to it and try to make up for it. That goes a long. People are very forgiving,
mhm.
I think, and in general, but you have to try. You have to put yourself out there and make it known that you're trying. As long
Right.
as you look like you're gonna try, people are very forgiving. So,
Yeah.
translating that into wrestling terms, babyface turns don't often go over well or as well as they could or as well as you want when they just happen out of nowhere. Big Show babyface turns, who cares? He's flip flop more often than anybody in wrestling history. But like when Hangman finally turns back face, it's gonna
Yeah.
be that he's gonna own up to the crap that he's done, and he's gonna try and make up for it because not only is that the character, that's also what somebody trying to be good would do.
Yeah. Yeah. So
So
yeah,
yeah, kudos to AJ.
yeah, kudos to AJ. I really like that part. Yeah, SmackDown was good overall this week. I give it a thumbs up. The only thing I really, yeah, the only thing I really didn't like, I mean, I thought I was entertained by the ladder match, but it was so it'll get like a from me. Everything else was a thumbs up though. The show overall was very good, except for that Hardy thing where he called him phenomenal. Like I was just like, ugh, like today on
It's giving
football.
me Jeremy Piven Summerfest vibes.
Yeah. Like today on football, one of the referees, like the head referee that gets the microphone, said fumbled the basketball during a football game. So yeah, no more white hat for that guy. But that was kind of the way I felt when he called him the phenomenal. I felt the same way when he called AJ Styles the phenomenal forearm. I was like, what the hell? Like, sir,
Well,
what
it's
are you
worse if he's a
doing?
referee.
Yeah.
Worse if he's a referee because that's the game it's his job to officiate.
Right.
He definitely shouldn't get that wrong.
Well, I'm sure Hardy
But
was being paid, so.
well, yeah. But okay.
At least I hope they didn't let him
Tag
get
me
out
in,
there and do
bro.
that shit for free. Hell yeah, tagging you in for Collision.
See, I even put my hand out like that, so you knew it was real.
Hell yeah, he's got the rope.
Tagged in. All right, so Collision. There was a lot on Collision. Actually, it was far more packed with wrestling than Dynamite was. So I'm gonna try and go through this as quickly as I can because we still got the hot tag to do too. So
Right.
match number 1 was Darby Allin versus Johnny TV. Good getting Morrison on TV. Darby wins by pinfall kind of abruptly. TV had most of the offense and did some really cool stuff too. Like I would go check out this match because as much as I've seen him, John Morrison, Johnny TV, Johnny Mundo, whatever you want to call him, like he still comes up with new ways to surprise you, and that makes him the perfect opponent for Darby Allin, who comes up with new ways to get hurt all the time. I would really like them to see them run this back. As it stands, Darby wins with a coffin drop on Johnny, who was standing. So he was in standing position, and he took the coffin drop, and he took the bump all the way to the floor, the mat with it, which I thought was interesting.
All right.
Afterwards, Allin reiterates his open challenge. Nobody answers initially, and he calls the locker room complacent, which. So he starts to walk up the ramp, only to be attacked by Brody King.
Oh shit.
Yeah, who destroys him and then accepts his challenge.
Oh fuck. All right. I love Brody King, so this.
I knew you do. I know you do.
Yeah,
I told you. I told you.
Yeah, I love that. Okay, yeah. The person I was gonna predict, yeah, no, I'll take Brody King. We're good here.
Segment number 1 is a pre-taped video package with the FT runners. So it's that low res stuff, like all the other Outrunners video packages. So it's got the cheesy music and everything. And it's shot like one of those '80s promos, like low budget '80s promos. FTR prove they have the stuff to the Outrunners by working out with them and tanning with them, except that the tanning was in overcast skies. And they dyed Dax's mustache blonde.
Yeah, I saw that on Twitter. I was like, oh.
And then they all did the Predator handshakes as they confirmed that they did indeed have the stuff.
The stuff.
And then the 80s style graphics comes as like the Outrunners and the FTR, they kind of combine like in the center of the screen to form FT runners. It's brilliant. Match number 2 was the Outrunners versus Grizzled Young Veterans. Went much different than their previous match because now the Outrunners are popular. The Outrunners win by pinfall when Truth Magnum uses a victory roll on Zach Gibson. This was a good match. Gets another thumbs up from me, just like the first match. Yeah, like it was good. Go seek it out. Like there's a lot of stuff on here you should definitely seek out. Segment number 2 was a pre-tape video package hyping up Britt Baker. She does the voiceover saying that she's back to chasing the women's world title after never getting a proper rematch after losing to Thunder Rosa 2 years ago.
Yeah.
Will be at Title Tuesday waiting for Mariah May. That's not a match that's set up. That's just I'm gonna be there if you are gonna be there. Blah blah blah.
Okay.
So segment number 3, Lexi Nair interviews the conglomeration and Willow Nightingale. I'm not really sure if she's a part of it or not. She's not on the T-shirt, so I'm gonna say that she's an associate, not part of the group.
Mm-hmm.
But they should put her on the T-shirt.
Yes.
Willow is also coming for Mariah May, but has Trish Adora tonight. Then they give it to Mark Briscoe, who says that he in his serious voice that he'll take care of Jericho soon.
Ooh.
And then he switches back to classic Mark Briscoe and says, "But Orange and Kyle O'Reilly had the premier athletes tonight," and does his normal amazing Mark Briscoe thing. Match number 3 is Willow versus Trish Adora. Great match. Like I'll go over it later, but Willow wins via pinfall after the Babe with the powerbomb. Afterwards, Willow confronts Mariah May, who was watching at ringside, who had amazing facial expressions. They cut to her like every couple of minutes for her face to comment on what was going on in the ring. And I think Nigel at one point said that they could make a set of baseball cards out of them. And honestly, for somebody who's, English and doesn't know crap about baseball, he's still right about that.
He's still right, yeah. Okay.
Like they really could. Her facial expressions are incredible. She's right up there with like Vince McMahon in terms of like selling something with her face.
Yeah.
That's high praise. Sort of. I mean, you know what I mean.
Yeah. We don't like to compare. Praise. Yeah, we know why it's high praise. And
we're parsing the character and the abilities from the man.
Yes.
So
exactly.
Please don't get angry on me on the internet saying that I think she's a pervert or anything. Like, no.
Yeah.
That's not what I'm saying.
Yeah. And you won't be able to take this out of context because I have receipts.
Yes. Yes. Willow confronts Mariah May at ringside and they brawl a little bit. And Willow gets the upper hand and it looks like she's gonna do the Babe with the power bomb onto the steel steps. Ooh. But Mariah slides out the back and heads up the ramp. She hightails it.
Okay.
Segment number 4, interview with Wheeler Yuta. Yuta barely has any chance to say anything before Claudio comes out and kicks Alicia out. And he's like, yeah, this is between me and him. And then he lets Yuta kind of lay into him verbally about how he wasn't in on it and, how this wasn't, what we were supposed to be and this, that, the other thing. And then he kind of lets him do his thing. And then Claudio says that he's never steered him wrong. And what did Brian ever really do for him? And that he'd always have his back. So building more tension, making it seem like there's a chance that Yuta could turn on Danielson too. I don't know if I believe that, but I like that they're building uncertainty.
I felt that way a little bit.
Well, then it's good because that's clearly the aim that they're going for.
Yeah.
So clearly that segment worked.
Yeah.
Lexi interviews Mariah May next. Segment number 5. This was backstage. It wasn't in like an official, like, where they usually have their interviews. It seemed like they just caught her while she was heading back to her locker room or something. She's wicked ticked off, like really just laying it, like running down Willow, running down Baker, before Christopher Daniels comes from off screen and accuses her of prompting these fights, because this isn't the first time that she's stood ringside and watched matches and kind of gotten, in it. He's like, you're prompting these fights as an excuse to not having to defend your title, because then you can, say that they don't deserve it because they're acting unprofessionally or whatever. So
Right.
he's like, okay, so for Title Tuesday next week on Dynamite, it's going to be Willow versus Baker, and that's a number one contenders match. So whoever wins that gets the World Women's Title shot at Wrestle Dream.
Man, why they gotta do that to me? Because I want it to be Willow and I want it to be Britt, but we stand Willow in this house, so Willow, please.
Yeah, I mean, I'll get to that later.
Mm-hmm.
Match number 4, World Trios Champion Wheeler Yuta versus Beef.
This guy.
Uh, Beef gets a couple of shots in here and there, but mostly this is the Wheeler Yuta show. He gets the hammer and anvil elbows, and Beef does a great job of selling it. He's selling it like he got legit knocked out, because once he slapped the cattle mutilation on that afterwards, he was kind of like, kind of flopping around like a fish, but he did not tap out. It was like it was implied that he was knocked out before that was applied. That hold was even applied.
Oh wow.
So
Okay.
like he's selling Wheeler's stuff really well.
Okay.
Thumbs up mostly because I like the angle where it was going, but it was as a match, it served more as an angle.
Yeah.
Segment number 6, Lexi interviews Hook, who only 2 days ago found out about it and issued his challenge to find out whoever attacked his dad, is already impatient and challenges whoever attacked Taz to show up on Title Tuesday. Didn't challenge him to a match. He's like, come face me. So I assume it's going to be more of a face-to-face segment. They're going to reveal that is, in my opinion, probably Christian Cage. By the way, quick interjection. Get well soon. Kill Switch / Luchasaurus got freaking pneumonia or something.
Yeah,
Like,
that's what I heard. Yeah.
awful crap. Get better soon, big guy.
Yeah.
Um,
Definitely.
Match number 5 was Orange Cassidy and Kyle O'Reilly of the Conglomeration versus Premier Athletes Tony Nese and Ari Daivari. They did the thing. The Premier Athletes did the thing where Sterling interrupts the introduction and tries to get the crowd to chant athletes rule or whatever it is, and of course they say athletes suck. So I mean, it's cheap heat, but you know what? Tony
Yeah.
Nese works freaking hard, and like, for somebody without, I mean, he's super talented, doesn't have much of a personality, but he's
Yeah.
one of those really, really dependable hands that can make anybody look good, and all his offense looks good. So like, yeah, put him on TV, give him that shot.
Yeah.
And the Ari Daivari is kind of underrated too. I feel
A little bit.
like he's a good hand. Um,
Yeah.
Winners are Cassidy and O'Reilly via pinfall. Cassidy hits with the orange punch, and then with the beach break, and he's pinning him, while in the background, O'Reilly has Daivari and guillotine choke. It's one of those things where that's not the actual fall. The pinfall is the actual fall of the match, but the pinfall is taking place as Daivari is tapping out. So it's like they both contribute,
Yeah.
kind of.
Right.
And thumbs up. This was a really fun match. Thumbs up to that too. Segment number 7 was another one of these. Lance Archer beats up a bunch of dudes in the back, but doesn't have a match because apparently he showed up to work and didn't get work again. This time it was in the back. It was like on in the parking lot area where all the trucks were and everything. Weird thing. He's approached by Don Callis, and he's like, "Hey, gotta ask you a question. Are you still represented by Jake the Snake?" And he beats up the last dude, throws him into the truck, and he goes back over and he's like, "Yes," and he walks off. Weird segment. Very strange. Not sure what that served.
Maybe Jake the Snake will show back up at some point.
Segment 8. Lexi interviews Mercedes Moné and Camille. Double interviews this week for those two. Monet puts herself over and says Camille is more than a woman. She's unstoppable. But of course, she said more than a woman. So Chris Statlander comes out from the side, referring to herself I think I caught this as Born Again Kristen challenges that notion and tells them to watch her match tonight. I'll talk more about that at the end.
Oh, okay.
Match number 6 though was a 4-way match: Hologram versus Commander versus Nick Wayne versus Action Andretti. Lots of cool stuff here. Hologram gets the win because they're not having him lose anytime soon. He has a finisher now. He put Andretti on his back in torture rack position and then did like an airplane spin. So like the longest spinning Blue Thunder bomb that you've ever seen.
Oh, wow. Okay.
And he actually pins him with a version of a Blue Thunder bomb, which never pins anybody. Just gas Simon Miller.
Yeah.
I'm sure when I see his ups and downs on this, that he's going to be beside himself. That he can't say that about the Blue Thunder bomb anymore. But yeah, thumbs way up for this match. Lots of cool stuff. Andretti getting pins, sells that storyline that he's still kind of in his own way despite his best efforts. So that keeps going. Nick Wayne doesn't get pinned. They're kind of giving him a little bit of a push now too, so they protected him. I was surprised Commander didn't take the pin actually, but actually Andretti got it, and that furthers his storyline. So good there. Segment number 9, Lexi interviews the Beast Mortos. You've seen this segment. I know you have, because you sent it to me on Twitter today.
Yes, I did.
So I don't have to tell it to you. But yeah, basically Lexi asks him what's the deal with him, like just kind of shacking up with anybody who wants to tag with him, and all he does is roar. And then the Undisputed Kingdom comes in and it's like, hey man, why are you cheating on us? Like, and especially Taven, who's really put some effort into investing in progressing Mortos' character with this Frank Mortos attorney at Roar bit, which I absolutely adore.
He slipped in a Man Bear Pig reference also.
Yes, a Man Bear Pig reference. Yes,
I was totally
yes.
like laughing my ass off. That was great.
Yeah, it was great.
You're still on retainer.
Yes, that was the line. That was my favorite line. You're still on retainer. I'm mad at you, but you're still my lawyer.
Right.
But the best part though was Mortos at the end. Just he sold it with his whole body, because you have to when your whole face is covered in a mask, and I think he did it really well. That he was just confused, and I feel like he wants some stability, and I hope he finds it.
Yeah.
I don't care where it is. Like, I liked the idea last week of him being with LFI.
Yeah.
And now I don't care where he winds up. I just want to see him happy and doing Beast Mortos things on my TV.
Yeah, exactly. I always need more of that.
Dude's great. Yeah. Match number 7 was Chris Statlander versus Zoe Lynn. Basic squash match. I don't think it even lasted 2 minutes. Afterwards, Monet and Camille came back, talked a little smack, got in there, and Chris held her own for a little bit, but then Camille did the brick house thing and just smashed her. Looks like her finish is being called the Road to Damascus, which is a rolling cutter, but like not Crossroads, goes the other way, so it's more of a roll of the dice kind of deal.
Okay.
So, yeah. That was that. Segment number 10, Darby reacts backstage to what happened earlier in the night. He lays out his history with Brody King. He's never pinned Brody King. Like, he put him in a coffin. He said that he thought that would be enough, but looks like, despite the fact that apparently, according at least to this storyline, Darby Allin, not Malachi Black, is the reason that Brody King has a job with AEW. Because Darby went out of his way to talk to Tony Khan and says, you have to get this guy. So layers, I like it.
Yeah, I do.
But it's like, it's painting Brody King as kind of almost ungrateful, kind of, sort of. I mean, not by demeanor, but by implication.
Yeah.
And so he's asking for a face-to-face meeting before WrestleDream.
Oh, okay.
So we'll get another segment to further that storyline before the pay-per-view. Segment number 11 was a pre-taped video package hyping the return of Emi Sakura, who I love. Love Emi Sakura. I was wondering where she was. I guess she's just been wrestling in Japan for the last several months. But she's coming back on Title Tuesday to face Monet for the TBS title. And I'm all for that. I'm totally all for that. Match number 6 was the main event. Number 1 contendership match, Private Party versus the House of Black versus Top Flight. Winner gets the Young Bucks at Wrestle Dream for the belts.
Okay.
House of Black in this case was, of course, Malachi Black and Buddy Matthews. Brody King has got his own stuff, clearly. Right. This was good. I mean, this is good stuff. You can't really have a bad match with all the people that are involved in this. Like, they're going to do some stuff. House of Black dominated most of it. Anytime they were in the ring, they didn't win, but they were protected as they usually are in defeat. I think that's why Top Flight was there. So maybe House of Black didn't have to take the pin.
So they didn't take the pin, yeah.
But Private Party hits gin and juice on Dante and gets the win well after they had taken out House of Black on the outside. Thumbs up, good stuff. It gives a reason to put Private Party in that spot. Yeah. So as far as wrapping things up with things I like, things that didn't, I love the focus on the women's division in this episode. There were, even though one was a squash, there were still 2 women's matches. You had a couple more segments on top of that.
Yeah.
You had Trish Adora really made the most of her time. She looked fantastic, and Willow was so giving to her. And the match went on for a while. It lasted through a commercial break. So, I mean, I really hope that they kind of call up Trish from ROH, if you want to look at it that way. Yeah. Because that girl was very impressive. She really took that opportunity by the horns and made a very good case for herself. So, kudos to Trish Adora specifically. Like, I always knew that she was talented, but this was a showcase for her. The segments, like the non-wrestling segments, were really good. Like the FTR runners was amazing. Darby's stuff furthering his feud and giving that little background of Brody King. I love lore. Give me more lore. Yes, by all means.
Okay.
The Beast Mortos stuff, fantastic. We're doing something with them. That's great.
Right.
The downside, I'm not really sure where they're going with Statlander. Like, all of a sudden, she's without Stokely Hathaway.
Which I'm okay with that.
She seems to be turning babyface.
Yeah.
After that long program of establishing her as a heel. Like, I'm grateful for the focus on the women, but I'm wondering where the heck this is going. Like, this, honestly, the women's focus is there, but it's all over the place. Like, Statlander is now a babyface by default for no reason other than what? Monet doesn't have a decent challenger for her TBS title that she hasn't already beaten? Is that what we're going with? Like, I don't get it. What if Britt Baker and Willow Nightingale, I love both of them, but they both lost in TBS title shots. How come they're getting inserted so quickly in the world title scene? They lost to the lesser champion. What makes you? I don't understand. Willow, as much as I love her, lost that blow-off match to Statlander, and which wasn't for a title at all. Mm-hmm. So she should be down in the rankings. She shouldn't be. I love that they're getting TV time. I love that they're getting focus. I do think the creative needs to be more focused on the focus, though.
Yeah.
Like, what are we doing here? Like, I'm wondering if maybe maybe they had plans with Thunder Rosa, but she got concussed, and she's on the mend, and so that this is kind of, they're cobbling things together until they're waiting for her to come back. I don't know, but like, I don't understand it. I wish I had a way to fix it, because I believe in constructive criticism, but I don't really know what their thought process is here. more than anything. So I don't know
Um,
how to recommend anything
I think a pretty
to it.
good guess is to the thought process is that Tony Storm and Hikaru Shida are both working in Japan right now, and
Yeah.
who's our I mean, because those are the two that I would put in there. Were they available? If they're not available, who would you go
Yeah.
with next? I would go. Britt and Willow makes sense in that frame of mind.
Yeah.
But honestly, looking at the available rankings, Willow still seems to be on top of things. So,
Yeah. I mean, if you there is I made an oblique reference to him, to this gentleman, or I
mm-hmm.
assume it's a dude. I don't know actually know that. But uh the tag on Twitter is at AEW underscore rankings.com.
mm-hmm.
And he, with every AEW show, they essentially update the rankings where AEW has largely left them to the wayside, at least externally. Like they still list their records on the bottom third when they come to the ring and stuff like that.
Mm-hmm.
And in you compare the numbers to who's getting title shots, and they mostly line up, unless there's like a storyline reason where they wouldn't. But like,
Yeah.
Post Collision, the power rankings that this guy has put up, which are usually pretty accurate to how they're booked. It has obviously Mariah May as the world title holder, Mercedes as the TBS champion. Willow is ranked number one in the division after that at 13-4 on the year, which I
Yeah.
mean, okay, that makes sense. Deonna Purrazzo is number two at 12-6. Where's she? I mean, she's a heel, so I mean,
Yeah.
so
Yeah. I
I
think
guess maybe
it's
not.
probably the heel thing.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Statlander's in at number three. She would be in contention.
Mm-hmm.
Sheeta, you said, is in Japan, so she's the. And then number five at 4-0 is Camille, who's definitely not going to challenge anytime soon. After that, like, I mean, I don't know, maybe it would be rushing it, but like Jamie Hayter at 3-0 is still higher on these rankings than Britt Baker at number 8 at 3-1.
Oh.
What are we doing? I mean, Hayter just finished up a feud. Why are we not putting her in there?
Yeah, I thought she would be the next feud
You
for
know,
for
what
uh for
about?
that.
I mean, we can always build up Nyla.
Oh yeah.
Like what's going on? Like I don't.
Why not?
I love that the women are getting more time, but I feel like something probably happens to kind of slap things together, and it feels that way.
Yeah.
So I mean, maybe there's nothing to be done about it. Maybe we just have to wait until more women in the division become available again.
Yeah.
Uh, but yeah, as far as the thing that I took away from this episode that wasn't so great, it was kind of the haphazard way that their storyline seemed to be going in that division, because
Mm-hmm.
it almost doesn't make any sense.
Right.
That being said, to end on a positive note, Emi Sakura is back. Emi, now I mean,
I love Emi Sakura just for her pure
yeah,
meanness. She's mean as hell, and I love it.
for our listeners, I look at Emi Sakura. I think she has such a great body of work. What she is. She is the Natalia of AEW, because you put her. She's got 20 years or almost 30 years of experience now. She's got a ton of experience. She goes in there. She makes everybody look good. She has great matches with anybody.
That's true.
But she's still the person that's the stepping stone. She's
Mm-hmm.
still she's still the Worf effect. You beat
Right.
her and then you look good. Oh man, you beat Emi Sakura, even though she never wins the belt. Like she's that talent that's their biggest attribute, their biggest positive attribute and contribution is making others.
Mm-hmm.
So, like in that respect, I feel like she's like Natalia in WWE. She's not the one who holds the belt. She's the stepping stone for somebody. If you can hang with her, if you can hang with Natalia, and if you can hang with Emi Sakura, and look good against her, and if they endorse you, then yeah, okay, we'll run with you for a little while. She's so valuable to that locker room, and
Yep.
I love her very, very much. And I'm very excited to see her back, and I really hope that I mean, she's not going to win the TBS title from Mercedes on Tuesday, but I really hope that they do something with her more than just having her show up from random matches every 3 months, you know, like she
Right.
had been. Like she was a fixture on Dark and Dark Elevation when that was the thing. And since that might be coming back, maybe that's where she'll wind up again. But I mean, we assume that it might come back because Rampage is going to be. But yeah, I really hope they do something with her because girls earned it for sure.
Yeah, for sure. Totally awesome. I'm glad to see Amy Sakura back.
Time for the hot tag.
Oh God, come on, give it to me, yeah.